everyone. Thank you all for joining us. So on behalf of Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage INTACH and the INTACH Conservation Institute, I extend a very warm welcome to our distinguished speaker, Professor Gaël de Guichen, Aparna Tandon, and everyone who has joined us for today's talk in the Conservation Insights 2020 lecture series. I'm Dr. Padma Rohila, Director ICI Delhi. It's an honor to introduce our speaker, Professor Gaël de Guichen, an internationally recognized professional who has contributed in developing the concept of preventive conservation in museums. Gaël de Guichen is French. He began his career as the engineer in charge at the prehistoric cave of Lascaux. In 1969, he joined ICCROM, where he completed his entire career. During his days with ICCROM, he has carried out more than 600 missions in the member countries. He led ICCROM's first long-term regional program, PREMA, from 1986 to 2000, focusing on the preservation of museum collections in Africa. He has also worked to involve media and youth in heritage preservation through the Media Save Art program from 1991 to 2001. Recently, he has actively focused on the REORG program for the reorganization of museum storage areas developed in various countries in the 5 continents. He, as a member of ICOMC, has also led the task force on terminology. Since his retirement in 2001, he serves as advisor to the Director General of ICCROM and has been applying the program on storage reorganization, REORG, in 21 countries. Gaël de Guichen is also a recipient of the Gold Medal for Merit in Fine Arts from His Majesty the King of Spain. Since his first mission in India in 1972, he often comes back to lecture on run projects in India. He is an excellent communicator, well known for his didactic teaching methods that we'll find out today ourselves. So today's talk is who's really responsible for the damage to our cultural heritage. Since 1977, ICCROM proposes a way to classify the various types of aggressors of tangible heritage, regrouping them into 5 groups in natural factors, fast and slow effects, and human factors, fast and slow effects, and professionals. Today, this traditional classification will be discussed and illustrated. Professor Gaël will present his reflection, a news perspective for the very first time. Before I invite Professor Gaël, I would also like to introduce Aparna Tandon, who has very kindly joined us today to assist with the program. She is the senior program leader at ICCROM and leads its flagship capacity development program on first aid and resilience for cultural heritage in times of crisis. Additionally, she is also coordinating and developing the activities for its program on sustaining digital heritage aimed at safeguarding digital heritage. So during the talk, 2 documents have been given to you. I'll appreciate if you keep these ready because we'll be needing these as Gaël continues with the talk. And also please type in your questions in the chat box facility. We'll be taking those only at the end of the talk. So those will be taken, and also type in your name of the organization and your email ID in the chat facility. I always request you to keep your microphones on mute while the talk is going on to avoid and enjoy the talk without any audio disturbance. So I now invite Aparna Tandon and Professor Gaël de Guichen. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Padma. It's greetings to everyone from Rome, and I'm very honored to be here today to also, in a way, introduce Gaël right from ICCROM headquarters. For those of you who are joining for the first time and do not know what ICCROM stands for, it's International Center for the Study of Preservation and Restoration of Cultural Property. And it was, in fact, the decision to found ICCROM was taken in India in a UNESCO General Conference in 1956, and in 1959, we found a home in Rome, which was emerging out of a war. And this center was created as a center for excellence to study issues related to conservation of cultural heritage. And Gaël de Guichen is one of the founder members who have helped to progress and advance the mission of ICCROM all across the world Today we have 137 member states. India is one of our very, very important member states. And at ICCROM we have staff from all regions of the world. I happen to be the first Indian to be taken onto the staff, but now another Indian colleague has joined, Dr. Guichen, and together we try to be on top of to work with our colleagues all around the world, because at Rome we are just a very small family, but the real strength of ICCROM lies in its network, and the network that has been founded by our esteemed colleagues and founders such as Gaël de Guichen. Without further ado, I welcome all of you and I hand over to Gaël. I'm going to switch on another camera feed, and so please bear with me, and because Gaël would like to stand up and give his introductory remarks. So over to Gaël. I hope everybody can see us clearly. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Namaste. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm French. I speak a kind of English, which is not understood by everyone, but try to do your best. I am in Rome, and from what I see on the screen, you come from there, but the majority are from India. We are in a difficult situation because the coronavirus hits you and hits us. And I just read this morning on the news that India is a particularly difficult moment. And I'm thinking of you and of your family who I hope are not suffering. So difficult because I don't know exactly who you are, all of you. I imagine that you are all working in the field of conservation. I don't know if you are a curator, conservators, if you are architect, if you are archaeologist, or if you are administrator, and I don't know where your responsibility. But what I know that I would like you to be at the end of this meeting, which will go on for about 60 minutes, I would like you to become, if possible, I would like you to become better doctor in conservation of cultural heritage. We have the responsibility of all type, or I think most of you have responsibility of most type of cultural heritage. Some of you are teaching, but even so, you have the responsibility of cultural heritage. Here I have a few objects of a various type. I have this statue, which you can see, the wooden statue here. We have here is another wooden statue. Here I wrote a bronze object. And here I also wrote Indian puppets that I bought, not that I received in fact as a gift after a lecture I gave in India. All those, whatsoever is the material, contains a story, a message. I call this a message. Here is a textile, Indian textile, that has perhaps no sense for most of people. But for me, it has a special sense because when I gave the lecture in Guwahati, I received this as a present. And under this piece of textile, I have memories of people. This object speak to me, if I know how to hear it. This object reminds me people I met in India. This reminds me moments of my time in India. So all those objects, whatsoever they are, wooden, metal, or other, they have something to tell me by whom they have been made, for whom they have been made. All the things that they have seen in their history, they tell me those messages if I know how to listen to those messages. But unfortunately, those messages are supported by wood, textile, metal, and so this part could be destroyed. And if this wood is destroyed, if I burn, I damage this, the message will be damaged. And it's why this is our duty to all of us, all of you who are listening to me. It is our duty to ensure that we are good cultural heritage doctors in order to ensure that the message of all those objects, whatsoever is the material, the material be saved as much as possible. Which means that for us, we have to be sure that we don't put at risk, whatsoever are the risks, those elements of cultural heritage. So now I would like to show you the first slide, which is coming now. So let's become better cultural heritage doctors. When we speak of agent of deterioration of cultural heritage, I'm asking you, all of you have received, I think, a piece of paper, where on the first line, you should write what comes to your mind in your field. What are the 5 first agents of deterioration and say aggressor to cultural heritage? I let you for 1 minute to write it down. And if you are 2 people close one to the other, try to look what the other has done to compare your result. So up to you now for less than 1 minute, write the first agent of deterioration you have in mind. You have written those 5 agents on the form that you have received now. This form, here is the form. I'm asking you to write it here, and from now on, we try to organize those agents. So we have the cultural heritage, we have the natural aggressors, we have the human aggressors, you have those which are on the right having. So those cultural agents are, there is natural aggressor, human aggressor, those which have immediate and drastic effect, those are cumulative effect, and now we see all those aggressors. I sent you already, each of you have received, I think, this table, so it's easy to follow from now on. Padma, they have received it? They have received?
Yes, they have the form with them.
They have the form. Excellent, excellent. So now they are in 5 different. Groups. If we look at the first one, we have, for instance, earthquake and fire, and those are causes which are immediate and drastic effect. I will illustrate it just for one, which is this one, which is the fire which took place last year in Paris, in the famous cathedral in the center in Paris. Immediate and drastic effect. If we move on To second category C, we have war, terrorist attack, fire, vandalism, fanatism. And to illustrate this natural cause with immediate and drastic effect, you can see this statue, which had been partly vandalized last month. Third category, we have abrasion, vibration, ignorance, graffiti. And which has a slow and cumulative effect. Cumulative effect, as you can see here, erosion, erosion in a museum in Rome on the left, erosion in the Taj Mahal on the right. And finally, to illustrate this, we have the professionals. And the professionals we have here, for instance, at the entry of a central conservation laboratory, how, by the professional staff, a statue, sacred statue, is transformed into a coat hanger. This is error done by professionals, but lack of respect. But we have forgotten the group B, which represent factors of deterioration having a slow and cumulative effect. Those are the agents. You know them well, and certainly it's those agents that you had already written on, you had already listed. Probably most of the 5 agents you have listed already fall into this category. They are inappropriate temperature, dissolved salt, relative humidity, corrosion, pollution, light, vegetation, insect, and they are very well known. They are always accused to damage cultural heritage. It is extremely rare that, for instance, your relative humidity is not pointed out to be the cause of deterioration. And for years and years, and those causes are slow and cumulative. Now, I will show you 20 slides of elements of cultural heritage. And I'm asking you that on the form that you have received, you have received here the list of the 20 slides, and on this first column, here, I am asking you to fill this form. Okay? And I will show you something that you have already heard. Probably some of you have listened to, have been attending some of my lecture, and you will just say that I'm repeating what I've said before. So let's look at those agents. Okay? Fill the form here as I am speaking. We will look at 20 of those objects. So for you, what is on this first slide? What is? You can see it? You can see it? Okay? I imagine that for most of you, it is inadequate temperature. It is heat. Now we move on, and I will let you play, but look at it well at the slide. Here, this is the head of, wooden head of Tutankhamun. I imagine that most of you, as doctors, have identified the cause of deterioration, the agent of deterioration, and you have decided that it is variation of relative humidity. Fine. Eventually, look, this is black, this is white. Okay, we move on. This ivory horse on a wooden base has split. And probably, as you are good doctors, you have identified this as a low relative humidity. Fine, good, you're right. Now let's look at it and let's see. I have said at the beginning, slow and cumulative effect. Let's look at it on this slab of limestone from Egypt coming to the museum, a metropolitan museum. Look at it in 1911, 1953, 1982. Wait, cumulative effect, certainly. Slow, well, it's 1 century. But this slab is 3,000 years old. Huh? So 100 years is slow. But you see how it has damaged within the museum. What are, probably you have guessed, which is the aggressor? It is crystallization of soluble salt. Write it down on your paper. All this you write it down. And I imagine that what I say is connected with what you have written. Here it is, here. This object, which is a shell from Madagascar, why this is discolored? It is discolored because you noted, you have already guessed, it is discolored because exhibition to light. Strange, one part is damaged, the other is not part because it was full and only one part was exhibited to light. You are right, exhibition to light. This painting, this gentleman on a green, light green background from the National Gallery, look at it, a detail, here it is. I remove the frame. It was not light green, it is dark green. What is the cause of deterioration? And probably you have already written, it is exhibition to light. So the green part, which was not exhibited to light, has remained, okay, the original color. And now, this feathered fact coming from Tutankhamun in Egypt, which is 3,300 years old, found in this condition. And now look at it well, look at it, it is changing color and it is destroying itself. How does it happen? Look at it. That was in 1980, a photo I took in 1980, the first one, in 2000, the second one, and the third one in 2010 in the museum. And of course, cause of damage is light. Here we are in Africa. This collection of 800 wooden statue have been totally eaten by termites, insects, within the museum, in the storage. Now it's impossible to restore this book from a library. What is it? Damage caused by insect. Okay. And this one, 2, and slide number 11, it's even worse. Nothing has remained here. in a library, official library, with people who are paid to protect the cultural heritage. Here it's natural history collection. Again, the aggressor is insect. Again, a library. You will see one or two at the top. At the top, you see two of the books attacked by microorganisms. And all the book you see here are all those books, 300 books, are attacked this way, and open to have ventilation to prevent development of microorganisms. This is a library of a university, the University of Naples. Here we are on the bank of the river Tiber in Rome. Look at it. You agree that the damage here is caused by the roots of the fig tree, which is behind. And here, on this archaeological monument, how lovely are those flowers. They will be fine on my balcony. But here, it's not their place. They are plants. And here, this is something extremely important because it has encouraged me to change my mind. This, as you can see, it is written. It was on a mission going to Tehran, and it was in the Iran Air in Flight monthly magazine. And it was written, climatic condition and high humidity in the growth of wild plants and trees a few hundred years has become effective and is the main reason for the destruction of the monument. We'll go back to this. It's extremely important. If you want to be a good doctor, think of this. So here it is say growth of white plant. And here at the prehistoric cave of Lascaux, where I have been working for 2 years, I was in charge of those paintings 18,000 years ago, which go back to 18,000 years ago. This is my colleague. This is the person who is there, is the person who has found the cave. In 2000, there has been a development of, you see, white on the bank of white microorganisms. Causes of damage, microorganisms. Good. Let's look at this tapestry. What is the cause of that deterioration here? The agent of deterioration, the aggressor, you put it the way you want. It is gravity. Gravity. And we come to an end. If we look at those books, if I hand those books, you see dust. Here, it's in the National Museum in Cairo. Again, you see here and there, you see dust. And here, it's in Austria, you see a screen, folded screen. And this folded screen, the part right is not damaged. The first part is covered. With this, we have seen the first part of this lecture. And it's a very classical one, the one you have heard. You have made no errors at all. I'm pretty sure that the 20 aggressors you have written are those we have spoke together. Now, change your mind. You are somebody new. You are new. You think in a different way. finish this tradition that you have heard, finish this way of teaching that I have been teaching for 45 years. It is over. We change mind. So we move on. We go back to this that we knew. But perhaps we knew it in the wrong way. We have said, the scientists have said, erosion, inappropriate self. Huh? The first one, erosion, is physical. The second one is chemical. The third one is biological. Dust is physical, chemical, biological. Good, perfect, scientific, scientists, wrong. Wrong. Why is it wrong? Because let's go back now to the same aggressor and the same slides, and we have to think, in fact, who has let the nature act in such a way? Who has let the nature work in such a way that those elements of cultural heritage, tangible, have been so damaged? Why those paintings which date from 18,000 years have suddenly in 1 year been covered by microorganisms? So let's look at it, and let's take again this form. Let's take this form, and I'm asking you now to fill the second column. The second column. Let's go back to start with this. Climatic condition and high relative humidity of wild plants and trees for 100 years have been effective, and the main reason for destruction of this monument. Do you agree? Think of it. If you are two together, speak together. Try to tell me what is the reason of this ruin. Think of it. I let you think. But now, who do you think is the cause of deterioration? Who? What is the cause of deterioration? But now, you don't want to answer. I will tell you if you don't want to tell me. The cause of deterioration, is it plants? No, it is abandoned. Abandoned. If this building had not been abandoned for some reason, this building will still stand. But as it has been abandoned by man, the gutters were not clean, the roof started to fall down, and the wild plants find the place. There were. Nature goes back to what it had been chased. The plants are not the damage, it is abandoned. Let's look at it here. Let's go back, and we'll go back to the 20 slides now. What is the cause of deterioration? Is it temperature? No, 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 no. It is lack of competence. I will say stupidity. I'm sorry to say so, but it is stupidity. By people who doesn't know that a lamp heats, and if you put a wax object close to a hot source, the wax will melt. People have to be intelligent. The error is a human error. It is not temperature. Now let's go to slide 2. This head of Tutankhamun, 3,300 years old. Sure, in the tomb, it has crack, and you see the crack, the black crack. But the white one have all happened in the museum. So why they have not fallen down for 3,300 years and now it's fall in the museum? It is not relative humidity. It is to simply mean deep professional error. Deep professional error. Let's go back to this one. We have said, what has happened? This horse, which was done technically, beautifully, on a wooden base, so you had a wooden base, which moved at its speed, with changing humidity, and you have a horse, which changes at its speed, and the space between the leg and the wooden part are done, there are certain flexibility, which means that everyone moves freely without being orientated, the wood by the ivory by the wood. For some reason, somebody had the brilliant idea to glue those pieces together, and the result is there. So if the error is humidity, is a cause of no. It is deep professional error. We go to 4. You have seen it, 1911, 1953, 1982. Is it soluble salt? No. Because if you are a professional and you know that the slab of limestone comes from Egypt, you have 90% chance to have soluble salt. And if you brought it to the surface, the soluble salt at one moment will come out and destroy in less than 100 years the object. Look at it. It is ignorance. It is ignorance. And if you are a good doctor, in 1911, by seeing this, you will have guessed that the salt were here, and will have immediately done what had to be done to remove this. It's like a good human doctor. You good doctor human who look at your eyes immediately see some possible risk. Now, if we move here, you have to be a specialist to know that textiles are damaged by light. Really. I have to be a specialist to know that this will be damaged by light. Any housekeeper, any lady who keeps in her house know that the curtains are damaged by light. And museum people, doctors in cultural heritage don't know it. And they let it damage to such a point. We are crazy. Light? No. Lack of competence. Human error. Here, I go back, exactly the same thing. Light? No. Ignorance. Human ignorance. Here, look at this exceptional fan, which has come through 34 centuries in this condition, which is a tremendous message because it tells us that at the time there were ostriches. Now there are no more ostriches in Egypt. So they tell us a lot of story, a lot of message and so on. And professionals, by exhibiting to they had to exhibit it to light. But at the beginning, they had exhibited to light through a curtain. The curtain has been burned out, and now the result is there. In front of the eye of everyone, not exhibition to light, error, abandoned. abandoned by profession. Here, 800 objects. Insect? No. If you have one which is attacked by insect, yes. If you have 800, no. You have time to see it coming. Here, insect, termite, no. Lack of control. Here, insect, no. Lack of control again. And here, total abandon. Abandon. So write all this down on your writing, and you will see the change. Here, to reach this level of destruction, it has been done by people who are paid by public money to protect public cultural heritage. Those people are paid to do so. They have nobody has realized. Nobody has seen it. That first of all, there was one which was damaged, and then the other followed. Abandoned. And here, you imagine, where is microorganism? No. Why? Because they had here transfer from a 17th century building to a new library, modern, freshly built, but they have not let dry the wall enough. It takes sometimes 1 year, 2 years to dry the wall. So they immediately insert those 3,000 books, 300,000 books, and the result is here. Where is here microorganism? No, deep professional error. Here, nobody knows that fig trees have roots. Nobody knows that roots of fig trees are very strong, powerful. Nobody has seen this coming. And now it's too late. Lack of maintenance. Not trees, not plants. Here. Where are we? Lovely flowers? No. Abandoned. No interest. No one who realized that this building has a long history, has many things to say, that each stone has seen so many people, so many events. And if we know how to ask to those stones how to speak, they will tell us what they have seen. And here, you imagine that for 18,000 years, you see the two bulls, black bulls on the top. You can see the two. For 18,000 years, there had never been one microorganism. And now, in order to stop this progression, they had to distribute on the ground to kill those microorganisms. They have to distribute 1,500 kilos of lime, quick lime, 1,500 kilos, when it has been conserved alone for 18,000 years. Errors? Microorganism? No. Gigantic professional error, done in year 2000 by professionals. Here, gravity, lack of common sense. 19, dust, lack of maintenance. Why on the red the dust has spread around? Why on the top the dust has not spread? Because they are glass which are too short, and here they have put scotch tape, sealing tapes. And here they have put sealing tape, but the visitor has stripped them, but nobody has replaced. Nobody has seen it. Nobody sees. No professional, no conservator, no curator, no architect. no technician, everyone is passing by, see nothing. Thus, lack of control. And last, here, it's so evident. You could have, as this fan was laid down, you see it was not like this, it was on the ground, and the top has been covered by dust. The top has been covered by dust. But the lower level is, you see, in perfect condition. So, thus, no lack of common sense. It will have cost you zero to protect this object, when now it will have cost you a bomb to conserve. So here we are, we come to a conclusion. Most of the slow and cumulative deterioration goes to tangible heritage. Most of them. So as my car is working, I think that on the piece of paper that you have used, on this piece of paper you have used, you have realized that there is a total difference between the first column, which is a scientific approach, pure scientific approach, and this one, which is a more practical approach, which shows that the slow and the cumulative effect is in fact due to abandon, lack of common sense, lack of maintenance and control, ignorance, and deep professional error. All those objects that I have shown you, that I cannot show you now, could have been saved by professional, and you are most of the damages that you can see on those objects. If they are slow and cumulative, they are not slow and cumulative. They are errors which are made by professionals. So now I hope that I did something to help you to become better doctors. Not to make an error of diagnosis, not saying it is nature. No. It's you who have let the nature act by not controlling humidity, not controlling the light, not controlling the insect, not maintaining the situation in good condition. This is preventive conservation. And I hope that during this talk, I have illustrated this to you. And no, I will not stop there. I will stop here and let you asking questions, disagreeing. If you disagree, we will answer. We have Aparna here who can answer, myself, and also who have just joined, Catherine Antomarti. Some of you know her, some of you have been a student. You see, here is Catherine Antomarti. She just joined us. So you have three people here ready to answer to your question.
Now saying that what about the role of guidelines which are now based on only scientific studies?
What is the role of guidelines which are now only based on scientific studies?
Yeah, so how about we go about using it?
Because you are saying this, you were countering the discourse of the science.
No, I say the scientific proposal, which say, let's say for life, 50 lux, I think is what we should apply. But if we don't know that there is this rule, if we, one, don't know that the object is sensitive to light, two, we don't know what are the rules, and if we know the rules, we don't apply it, the damage is not caused by light, but is applied, the deterioration is caused by human people. I quite often, when I'm reorganizing storages, I ask the participants, what are the cause of deterioration? Oh, climate and light. Not the light in storage, because there is no light in storage. So don't spend your money to control light. because it's useless. Because there is no light so exceptionally when you open a drawer or when you enter in the storage and so on. Light is not a problem in storage. Well, the other rule on relative humidity. What is the rule? To have a rule to have a stable humidity. Stable humidity. But don't apply blindly some propositions which were made in 1945 by English curators for English cultural heritage. In England, in India, if you speak of Bombay, if you speak of Delhi, and if you speak of Guwahati, there are three kinds of conditions which the object have supported for centuries in Bombay, century in New Delhi, and they are different. And century, the same wooden statue in Bombay has been kept in a certain climatic condition, which has to be kept and stable. If you put it in this identical object which has been kept for 100 years or 200 years in New Delhi and arrived to us in good condition, those are the conditions which had to be kept. Same thing in Guwahati, and they will be different. And you will not have to apply in Guwahati what Dr. Plendelis has proposed the British Museum in 1945. I hope I've been clear.
Yeah, thanks. There are no questions. We only have comments saying that climate change is also posing challenges now. People are agreeing that we need more shared knowledge, and we must understand the factors and then act accordingly. So these are all comments and people are agreeing more and more, but no questions as such.
I hope I have been clear, but it is true that you need to know your object, know its fragility, you have to know its past, the condition it came to your hand, and then to apply a minimum scientific rules, which are not always as strict as one has been taught at school or at university.
Okay, we have a question. Francesca PK wants to know, what in your view is the best guideline for cultural heritage preservation available now? What process should we be following today?
No, I cannot. No, I would say.
What process?
What process? Now I tell you what process I have to repeat. It's a little like if you say to the doctor, what process do you follow? But the process is there. First of all, I meet. I cannot answer to the phone. Doctor, I'm sorry, I feel ill. What should I take? The first thing is you know your cultural heritage. You know what has been his past. You know it is wood. If it's ceramic, it will not be the same. You know how it has come through centuries to me.
I want to know the process. So who give you this information? I'm going to ask Gaël. How do you proceed? So first, you go into the place and look immediately to the collections, or?
But the first thing I have to know the malade, as a doctor, I have to see the patient. First of all, I see the patient, its condition, which means the collection. Now, this collection, I ask where this collection is coming from. How does it come here? Is it here for 300 years or it has just come now? Then, at this point, when I will try to apply exactly the condition which had allowed this object to come to us. This is the condition I assume. See, like the doctor say, what do you eat? I eat this. You are well? You are well? Yes, doctor. Keep on eating this. It's the nature which show you. It is not the scientist who show you what it should. If a textile has been kept only hidden in the dark, well, if you want to exhibit it, you have to exhibit it only temporarily, otherwise it will be damaged. So I go back, I know the collection, see the collection, see in which condition it is, try to understand what are the conditions it was kept, speaking with the former owner or for the staff, and I try to do my best to keep the same condition. I will give you one example. If you ask, I have asked Dr. Plenders in 1970, when I arrived at ICCROM, what are the conditions to keep ivory? He told me 55–60%. Thank you, sir. I go to Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. I go to the storage of the museum, close to the sea. So close to the sea, you know, it's 80–90%. They open me des armoires, cupboards. You had hundreds of statues in ivory. This side, this side, this side, hundreds. Not a crack. 80–90% to 80. Not a crack. Dr. Plenders tell me 50–60. Yes, he tell me 50–60 in the British Museum, because in England it has been kept at this, and those which have not support this 50–60 have cracked and that disappeared the object. So nature has shown me that in England, in the British Museum, it was 50–60. But nature has shown me that in Brazil, not in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, which is close to the sea, those objects which come for 200 years have all been used to this 1890, and we should keep it to 1890. Same thing for wood. I know collections which are in perfect condition at 30%, not a crack.
Francesca, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Now, if you can repeat your question. Francesca has asked this. Could you want to add on to that?
No, I just wanted to know if Gaël has some vision about some of the, like the Bura Charter, but most importantly, now that you gave me the microphone, Gaël, what is the most important lesson you learned through the years working in this field? This is the message you sent to us today. Is this the most important lesson?
Francesca, yes. And I can tell you, this lecture that I just gave has been done. It's the first time I give it. This is the very first time I've given this lecture. I prepared it specially for you. I had it in mind for years and years. I realized I was showing the first part that you have seen, the part where you have filled the first column.
Yep.
I have been it for years. And more I was going, and each time I was saying, no, Gaël, you are wrong. You are reducing the responsibility. Because, it has been damaged by nature. And I said, no. It is by human being. It is by human being. And when Padma asked me to give a lecture, I said, yes, it's my chance to put it right. And I have, for the first time, put in order what I have felt for years. And now you see people feel much more responsible. It was very easy to discard, it's nature, or bad luck, nature has, no. It's us, it's me, who have not been professional error, a good professional who had made a mistake. We can make sometimes, we can make mistakes, of course, but not too many. And I am really happy that Padma forced me. I could have repeated the lecture that Francesca, you heard me already, giving the first part. You heard several times, I'm sure. You have seen some of those slides.
Yeah, it is a new lecture, definitely. It's great, Gaël, because I agree that we gotta take the responsibility back. We understand much better what the process are and all of that, but it's true that we need to understand that it's in our hand to act. And so it's not that we're canceling the importance of science, of understanding processes, of all of that, but at the end of the day is the lack of information. So education comes back up. So the ignorance needs to be fight. And so I completely agree with you. And I thank you very much. And I thank Padma as well for organizing this. It's fantastic that she gave this opportunity.
Thank you. It's the first time and even if we go back, they are looking at it. I saw something that already I would like to modify, but this is not important. The important is the idea that I try to pass. It is don't unload the responsibility to Mother Nature. Mother Nature will destroy cultural heritage. It will not keep it. And if we have time, but technically I can't show it to you, unfortunately. Technically I can't show it. But on my side, I don't know what is on your side. I would like to have the reaction of the Indian colleagues and of Achal, for instance. Achal, you are here. Yeah. You have heard this lecture 10 times. Now it's completely new. Or Adil, please tell me what you feel about this. That's interesting.
Achal has asked a question. He was saying, are decision makers in our country aware that objects do deteriorate in museums and in storage? And what is this question about light being a slow and cumulative aggressor?
Can you repeat the question?
Can you write the question?
Yes. No, I'll just ask Achal. Achal, can you hear me? The question is, do people in India know, are curators in India aware that objects do deteriorate in museums and in storage?
Look, I don't know all people in India, and I know that Achal, yes.
Achal is there.
I know that. I mean, okay, go ahead, Achal. Go ahead.
You could ask the question, Achal.
Women, I know that, but not only in India, in many places, in France, in Italy, the training is, the key point is the training of any kind of professional working on cultural heritage. They are lecturers, they are, yes, professors who are teaching what they have received 20 years ago. And there is an incredible evolution, incredible. And I'm happy because you give me the chance to do this evolution and to change my mind. And I hope I have convinced you to change your mind, to be better doctors. But I just come from Mexico, where most of the room, and there were 100 people, 120 people, most of the room were telling me when I asked what should be the relative humidity, all the room were saying 50, 60, wrong. There are things which are right, which is reduce the light level, yes. But so many errors are due to lack of maintenance, lack of observation, lack of will, lack of art. They don't love cultural heritage. They don't care. That's the big error.
Thank you.
Because if you love and care, there are some chance to do well.
Thank you. Achal, can you hear us? Can you join?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So he was asking you about experience of.
My question to Gaël is that according to his experiences, are the decision makers in the country wherever he has worked, are they aware of the fact that objects they deteriorate in showcases, in storage, or they are not concerned about it? They are more concerned about the monuments like Taj Mahal or Red Fort and all, because most of the policies which are made by decision makers, they concentrate more on the monuments and all. Recently in India also we have come up with a planning commission report which concentrates more on the sites, archaeological sites, monuments, and to some extent to wall paintings, but no policy for the objects which are inside the display cases and in the storage. So what are the views of Gaël on it?
Look, it is certain that large majority of people think that when an object is brought in the museum, this object is safe forever. For them, it is evident. The object is there, the museum is there to protect forever the collection. We have, it's in their human mind. It's a normal museum is there, like a hospital is there to few people. Few people died, but the majority will come out safe from hospital. How can we, because the idea is to try to change the mind of the people. How you, in your laboratory, you in your museum, can demonstrate that you have a role. I think the only way to really do it, apart from words, it is images. The images that I've just shown you, sometime trying to show you 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago. Here you have in front of your eye the damage. But people don't like to show this. No? You in your various fields, you should try to do exhibition of objects which have damage in the storage, which have come, which were in a good condition 100 years ago and which are in bad condition. If you show this, people will start to believe. But until you show it, people can't believe it. How do you want them to believe? How do you want to? they need to believe it. If even the professionals don't want to believe it, how do you want a non-professional to believe it? So it's up to us to demonstrate and perhaps to make a book, not showing a conservation, before conservation, you see before conservation and after conservation. And look how we good are conservators. No, we will show when it's arrived in the museum and how it is now, how destroyed it is. That's what we should do. But we don't do it because we are not authorized, because we have not the right document and so on. We have not enough documents. It's complicated to demonstrate. It is complicated. But what we have to try to do is to change slowly the mind of the people. Slowly. And you know, Achal, what we did in Guwahati, you know it, how we were able to change the mind of the people, showing them the before and after. We have to stop showing before and after restoration. We have to show them the contrary, how it came to the museum and how badly it damaged.
Thank you, Gaël.
Thank you.
Padma, can I comment?
Yeah, sure.
Gaël, don't you think also a big issue is that conservators don't do that because they risk not to be called again? I think there's also a problem that conservators are seen as those responsible to make things look good. And the risk is when they start creating problems or asking too many things and asking resources, the risk is that they also are not called anymore by the client.
No.
Yes, there is this risk, but and it is why when we start in 19, it is why when we start in 1984 to speak about preventive conservation, it was very badly received by the conservatory store. Very badly, because they were thinking that we were cutting their job, and they will have nothing else to do. This is wrong. I think now slowly the conservators have realized that preventive conservation is not destroying their job. There is so much to do. There is so much to do. Think of storages. Think of storages. You know, you are in the field, all of you. You are in the field. Oh, I don't know how many of you have entered in storage, but in a few, let's look at the number. 55,000 museums in the world. 55,000. Each museum, on average, have rooms with the storage. I gave already this talk 2 weeks ago to Achal for INTACH. 55,000 museums. Roughly more than 500,000 of rooms which are called storages. More than 500,000. And out of which about only 40% which are in good condition. 60% of the storage, which means 350,000 room in storage. 350 to be reorganized. In every country, in my country, in France first, Italy too, India of course. The United States, that people don't show because they are ashamed. You see, there is work for everyone for several centuries. So conservators, because they are working on one object, because they are working on one object, they can be sure that there are hundreds of objects behind which are waiting. Hundreds, thousands are waiting. They are there. They are queuing. See, they are queuing. This one has been, this one is coming. There are thousands and thousands. So don't be afraid to lose jobs. No. Let's be sure what is your objective in your life. Well, sure, to have a job. But we are in a field where we have to conserve the memory of humanity. Each of those objects have part of the history of humanity. And each of these objects have to be protected the best we can. This is preventive conservation, and I have given you some illustration of what has not to be done, which was not to be done abandoned, not to be done ignorance, not to be done professional errors. This is what we have to do and to learn and to apply to millions and millions and millions of cultural pieces, elements of cultural heritage.
Thank you, Gaël. I don't think there are any questions. A lot of people have shown their appreciation. Everybody is understanding now that we need to be more responsible, more observant. Just one question, is there any place to look for the best standards to be followed? What, according to you, is the best place for standards for maintenance? Best standards?
Yeah, can you
find standards for preventive conservation? What would you advise one should follow?
Quelles sont les normes à suivre?
Les normes, look, there are, in some cases, everyone has this, but please have to take some distance. In some cases, look, of course, for temperature, I will say to you, not go above, not go below, let's put du bon sens, common sense. Let's not go above 28, 29 degrees and so on, and go below this. Okay, well, immediately you want this. But think, some object which has been kept always at 30 degrees in Africa should be kept at 30 degrees. And some objects which have been kept at the lower temperature, average 20 degrees, keep it at 20 degrees. It's exactly if you say for human beings, what are the norms? What do they should eat? I'm sorry, in India, you eat different way than what we eat. You eat other vegetables that I eat. If I start eating your vegetable and you start to eat my vegetable, you will feel ill and I will feel ill. You understand? Huh? So yes. For temperature and humidity, somebody who lives in the North Pole feels that 10 degrees centigrade is hot. And somebody living in Bombay feels 10 degrees is cold. Okay, so don't ask me what is the ideal condition for human being. There are ideal conditions for people living in the north of Russia or in the north of India, and those close to Himalaya, and those who are close to Sri Lanka. They are not the same. And it is the same for the object. Or there's some common sense. Of course, you say to people in the north or in the south, wash you, if possible, twice every 2 days. This is common sense. So for object, we'll say for object, don't let that dust. So don't let that dust on this. And there is no scientific measure of quantity of dust.
Yes.
I would say careful insect insect for textile, which are different than insect for wood. Okay? And I will say no textile, no insect at all. Ah, oh, good. And for light, same thing. For light, I will say, put all the light you want on it. I don't care. Huh? But don't put light on this because I care. Because the object is fragile. It's exactly like human being. Let's be let's have common sense.
Yeah.
But some people have wanted to have rules because it is easy to have rules. It is easy to have rules. To apply those rules. The architect which is building a museum, it is easy to tell him this measure, it's easy, but it's wrong most of the time, and it creates problems.
Yes.
You understand? Otherwise, conservation will be very easy. For those, so much. You are authorized to have so much. For instance, you are authorized to have so much. For light, you have so much. For gravity, you have so much. For this, you have so much. You want to make it easy. It is not easy. But common sense is important.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gaël. I don't think we have any more questions. We're running out of time anyways. So thank you so much for this very, very interactive session. I think a lot of us have learned something very new. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francesca.
Thank you.
Ciao, Catherine.
Thank you, Gaël. Thank you, Padma, and thank you,
Thank you.
Aparna, if you are there. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, all of you.
So much.
And think of the object, think of your responsibility.
We will. Thank you so much for inspiring us. Thank you so much for taking out this time. We had a wonderful time. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaël.
Yeah. Thank you. See you all. Thank you all for joining us. See you then. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.